how to turn what you already have into $1 million. These videos that I've been sharing on this channel here are built on the foundation of my personal experience of building 3 successful businesses. One in IT, which I ran from 2009 to 13. Number 2, in consulting, I started a consulting practice in 2013 when I transitioned from my IT business, built that to success. I also started a YouTube channel, which has over 400,000 subscribers. Not this one, another one. I'll link in the description to it, which also became a business which I built to success. And then I moved into investing, and the journey continues. And one of the things that I had learned earlier on, which was inspired by a book called Acres of Diamonds by Russell Conwell, is that we are right now, wherever you are right now, the individual might not be aware of it, they may or may not, are standing on their own acres of diamonds. Now, when it comes to wealth generation, when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to building a business, these diamonds can appear in form as follows: physical assets, digital assets, intangible assets, and relationships. Now, over the course of the entrepreneurial journey, you may acquire more physical assets, digital assets, intangible assets, and relationships. Yet, wherever we are now, we have access to, you're on the internet right now, easier, faster than ever before, you have access to relationships, assets, again, physical, digital, intangible. And one of the things that I don't see talked about a lot online, which has generated me many millions of dollars since I started full-time in entrepreneurship in 2009, is combining assets and relationships in creative ways to generate more visitors to our products, our services, our offers. Number 2, generate more qualified leads from those visitors. Number 3, acquire more clients. And number 4, engage in ongoing business with existing clients. So what I would like to explore with you today is built on the foundation of my personal experience. Like everything that I've shared throughout this channel, this new channel that I created, which is focused exclusively on entrepreneurship and my personal experience, and also working with thousands of businesses in consulting. Now, you may know already that I am working on a new book, which I will be releasing on my birthday, April 25th. I'm actually in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, working on my book. If you would like to be notified of the book release and you would like to download a copy of this mind map in Xmind or PDF format, there's a link in the description where you can join a mailing list and I'll send you those details. So now, what I have found is that each of us have infinite value, but we might not know what this value looks like. You may have heard this before. I say this on my channel. I say you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, infinite intelligence, and you have access to everything. See, a person may think, well, I don't physically own this, so I don't have access to it, which is not true. Because I've done many partnerships over the years where I did not have access to relationships. I did not have access to assets. Yet through those partnerships, through those relationships, I got access to other relationships and also assets which, when combined, allowed me to create more products and services, optimize my products or services, deliver in easier, faster ways operations. Also, it facilitated more visitors and more leads to my business, thus the marketing as well. we can apply what we're discussing here in many ways, although we're going to focus more on the revenue side. You can apply this to innovation, sales, marketing, operations, finance, leadership. That's the way I segment entrepreneurship, and that's the way I teach entrepreneurship. If you're interested in my entrepreneurial programs, I'll link in the description to them. So you have enormous amount of value, infinite value. So with respect to entrepreneurship, we can bring awareness to these diamonds that you have in a very simple way by categorizing them as assets and relationships, and then combine them in creative ways to generate whatever monthly income goal or business finance goal, net worth goal, whatever it is. You can do this with what we're talking about here. I've simplified this. It took me 16 years to get it to this level of simplicity, so I trust you'll benefit greatly from it. So there is something called value proposition. Value proposition. A value proposition explains the specific benefits someone will receive by working with you. It clearly communicates the value you provide. So it is what you offer, how it benefits them, and what gives them a unique edge. For example, when I had my IT business, it was something like, we offer IT services for small businesses that can't afford or don't have the money aside or have no interest in bringing on a full-time IT consultant. And our style of doing things is very relationship focused. You may have seen many IT companies that maybe they were difficult to communicate with, or they didn't bring down the lingo, the technical lingo, in a way that was understandable. They weren't looking at how everything that was being integrated or the propositions were related to and benefiting the operations side, the innovation side, the sales side, the marketing side, the finance side, the leadership side. We do that, full spectrum, something like that. And that's a great way to start a conversation. And then we can get into the nuances of the value propositions. Because that's just one way of generalizing it through a statement or a paragraph. And you can condense it further if you would like. What I had found personally is that I would freestyle, I would come up with the value proposition in front of the prospect because I would already know about their business. I would have learned enough of them from the conversation to the point that I was able to articulate the value proposition in a way that facilitated the deal. Because why would I use the same cookie cutter value proposition with every one of the prospects, with every one of my clients, when their IT needs were different? And one value proposition articulated in this way can result in the client saying, let's move forward, I want to hear more. And another one may result in them saying, you know what, that's not something that we're looking for. Even though we provide and we offer a broad spectrum of IT services, what I teach is communication-based, relationship-based. You get better at it with practice. You get to the point where you put aside the cookie cutter value proposition statements or the one paragraph elevator pitch, which can be helpful. Yet what I teach is being very personal with each person that you're working with. This is an individual, a unique individual. And so we speak not in a way where we're talking at them, but rather we're relating harmoniously with them through conversation. So generally, it is what you offer, how it benefits them, and what gives them a unique edge. So as mentioned, assets, they can be physical assets, such as equipment, space, print media, anything physical. Maybe you have event space, maybe you have warehouses, maybe you have a location that you rent out. For example, back in 2012, I had some space in the condo that I was staying in. Downstairs, there was a wonderful, beautiful meeting space, which was right in the downtown core. Easy access to the subway, easy access to the amenities, etc. And so a lot of people that would work downtown would go to Union Station, which is pretty close by the place that I was living. And it was easy access for them to get home. So what I had found was I had access to event space at the condo, and I did partnerships with speakers to host their events there in exchange for getting access to their audience. And that worked out. So we could see through relationships and having access to that event space, by acknowledging that you are right now standing on your own acres of diamonds. As a matter of fact, I recommend personally, we do this in Flow-Based Prosperity, my group coaching and mastermind service. On Thursdays, when we mastermind, I encourage everyone to take inventory, keep inventory, and to continue to refine that inventory of the various physical assets that you have that can be brought into deals. We'll talk about how to do it. Then, as mentioned, digital assets. So it could be websites, could be email lists, could be content. Each video that you make on your Instagram, your TikTok, your YouTube channel is an asset. It is valuable. That asset can provide valuable insight for a prospect so they can benefit greatly from it. And also, it could result in them wanting to work with you. Maybe in the content, you communicate it in a way where they resonate deeply, and so they want to work with you. It is an asset. Tech tools, websites, CRMs, etc., anything digital. Now, intangible skills, ideas, your brand, intellectual property, your authority on a particular area, your expertise. Intangible can be turned into physical products, into digital products such as ebooks, courses, programs, etc. Yet, this is based on your reference experience, your stories, your life experience, whatever it is that you have learned. You see, I have helped many people start businesses. And sometimes they say to me, actually I would say quite common, they say to me, I don't know what to start. And so where we usually start, where it ends up working out for them, is the skills, their expertise, their areas of interest, and their ways of going about doing things that is distinct from what is being offered in the marketplace, or may also be similar to what is being offered in the marketplace where there's a lot of people buying that product or service. For me, for example, I did 10 years in corporate IT, and then I started an IT business. While I was building my IT business, I was getting asked about consulting, marketing, etc. And then from there, I took that knowledge and expertise of building my IT business to success and started my consulting practice. And then also on my YouTube channel, I discuss books, I discuss topics that have been very helpful for me and my style of applying it. I shared reference experiences, etc., which resulted in the channel growing because people were interested in how people were applying the information in the books. It wasn't just, here's a bunch of insights from the books. It's, here's a bunch of insights. Here's how I applied it. Here's the kind of results I got up. And let's talk about it. That was valuable. So thus I created digital content, digital assets, based on my intangible assets. So you can take an inventory of your physical assets, your digital assets, and intangible assets. So what does this got to do with turning what you already have into $1 million? Well, just the physical assets alone, when combined or just by themselves, the digital assets alone, or when combined, or just by themselves, the intangible assets, when combined, or just by themselves, combined all together, can turn into opportunities to create products and services that benefit people greatly. Now, you also have relationships. And what I used to do back in the days, and I recommend many new entrepreneurs to do this, is 5 new contacts a day. So if they have a product or service, then I generally tend to recommend 5 new prospecting sessions a day, at least. And now we could do it a lot easier with the internet, with advertising, social media. But generally, I give that as a rule of thumb. For example, if they're a real estate agent, I say make 5 new contacts a day that are people that fall within the following criteria. Those that would buy real estate or sell properties or do some kind of real estate deal with you. Number 2, those that could refer clients to you. Number 3, those that could bring you to events or groups or meetups or parties where you can get access to people that would do real estate deals with you. Number 4, somehow, some way, they can move forward your real estate business in the areas of innovation, sales, marketing, operations, finance, leadership. 5 a day. And upon doing this, and I generally tend to do with real estate agents or those that have a product or service, focus more on the sales side. By focusing on acquiring 5 new prospects a day, their numbers go up. It's very simple, very straightforward. This is what I've done in the earlier stages. I don't do this right now because of the volume of people that reach out to me, but it's a great way to get started. So relationships, and in business, it's not just client relationships, partnerships, joint venture partners, we've got mentors, different kinds of relationships in business. So if you don't feel that you know people, you can start meeting people. You can join groups, you can go to events. That's what I did in the earlier stages. And then the entrepreneurs and business professionals that I met would refer me to people, invite me to events, and I would meet more and more people. And then what would happen is I would get more leads, more clients, and the business would grow. As a matter of fact, my IT business was built mostly on referrals. I had mentioned this story many times. There was an accountant that referred so much business to me at one point that I had said to her to slow down just because I was getting so many clients and we didn't have the infrastructure in place, and we were building the infrastructure to support. So you have different kinds of relationships, but for the sake of our conversation, I would like to categorize it as follows, because our goal with our conversation is combining the assets and relationships to grow your business. You already have access to the assets and relationships. We have direct access relationships, indirect access relationships, and community presence. So direct access relationships. So these are people that could directly, you could connect with them to do business with you. They can buy your product or service. They can also refer business to you, or they can open up the door for you in some area of business. Could be in marketing, in sales, in innovation, operations, finance, leadership. Now, I categorize entrepreneurship this way based on my experience because I find it easier to teach this way. So direct access. An example would be you have a personal relationship with a CEO of a company that you can message or call them directly. Maybe now you are offering something that the company can benefit from. Maybe some kind of training, maybe some kind of facilitation, maybe some kind of consulting. Yet, let's say if you contact the HR department or other individuals in the company, they don't seem to be as responsive. Well, a message coming from the top down may be helpful. The next is you own an email list, for example, of 10,000 subscribers in a niche market. I recommend personally building your own brand online so people that know you, like you, trust you, and you have assets, digital assets and content that generates leads for you, that generates clients for you, such as my YouTube channel. But prior to that, I didn't have a social media presence. I had a personal Facebook profile, which I deleted. My IT business was mainly through offline, connecting with people. Yet now I value the email list. One could say, would it have been better to have built that email list from the beginning? The answer is depends. We could explore and get into those nuances, but now I value it more so. I have an email list. I have a list of subscribers. I have an Instagram that has people that engage with me on Instagram. And so direct access, I can send out an email. As a matter of fact, that's what I did on a recent offer that I put out, Flow-Based Prosperity, a handful of live events. I sent an email out to the list, and we were able to fill up the spots in Flow-Based Prosperity, fill up the spots in the events from having an email list, direct access. Then you also have, for example, perhaps you manage a private WhatsApp group or a Facebook group where there's decision makers. These are examples of direct access. Then we have indirect access. So indirect access could be something like your friend is a podcast host and can introduce you to a potential guest or sponsor that they brought onto their podcast. You're part of a mastermind group where members share referral opportunities, or they have access to someone and you can connect to the person that they know through them. You've built rapport with a YouTuber who can share your product or service with their subscribers. And then we have community presence. You're an active contributor, for example, on a Reddit forum or a Facebook group with a strong following. So you can have one of these communities, or you could have built a relationship with the communities, and people in those communities like and trust you. You regularly speak at local events. I have a number of friends that speak at Toastmasters. Now, Toastmasters not only has access to people that are interested in public speaking and communication, but they may also have access to potential deals for your business, whether you start a consulting practice, real estate, etc. And a lot of times I find with people who attend these kind of groups is they attend other kinds of groups, they do different kinds of networking events, etc. And so you can see how this spreads. And again, you are the point from which everything springs from. And by that I mean, you have access to assets, relationships. And when we look at it this way, you can actually see, one could say, in the earlier stages, I didn't have this. I would have liked to have had what we're talking about here in the earlier stages so I can have clarity. So that way I could say, okay, now I could take this and apply it. And the business would have grown easier, faster. No rush, the businesses were built to success. Yet I put these videos to accelerate your journey. So people that speak at local events have generally a community presence and relationships, and that is a source for prospects, for leads, for business partnerships, etc. Now, you may create content on TikTok or YouTube like I do, or your LinkedIn gets engagement and builds trust over time. So you have a community there. So direct access, people that you can call up right away that would become clients, that could refer business to you, that could open up doors for you. Indirect access, people who know people. And there's also the community presence. You can build community presence, or you can join an existing community and build relationships over there. So relationships, assets can be combined in creative ways. So what's helpful when we bring awareness to these assets, again, they could be physical, digital, intangible, one or a combination. When we bring awareness to these relationships, we think in terms of value proposition. What do you offer? What benefits does it bring people? What unique, distinct edge or benefit do they get from working with you that maybe is distinct? For example, the distinct benefit that I gave in my IT business was the way we went about doing the IT business was quite laid back, and it was, as mentioned, very non-stressful, easy to communicate. I would hang out with my clients. They would invite me to their dinners, their kids' birthdays, parties, etc. And even though we could say, how does that fit into value that you provide in IT? Indirectly, it does, because these are entrepreneurs, these are business owners, and they enjoy the experience of building their business, and they want to have a wonderful time. They also, in their offices, didn't want someone to come around in there and it's not feel very comfortable. That's what they were feeling with the other vendors. When we would come around, we would get along with everyone in the office. We would listen to their concerns they were having with IT. We would help them with whatever else. Sometimes they would ask us questions about their home computers, and we would be there for them. And so it was a treat, you could say, every time we would show up to the client site for the business owner and everyone in the office. Now, that is a very distinct, unique edge. Because then what happens is they refer their clients, their friends, over to me for IT services. Because it's not just the IT services that we would deliver on. We still get the work done. We still deliver according to spec. It's the way we went about doing it. Napoleon Hill, in the book Think and Grow Rich, he called this spirit of service. Later on, he changed it to mental attitude of service. He said quality, quantity, and spirit of service. It's the way we went about doing it. And we could even say that has parallels with quality as well. So knowing that, for example, I mentioned earlier, I had this event space that I had access to that I could, and I would even do some workshops downstairs, which would result in client acquisition afterwards. But I also lent the space out to other speakers so they could bring people there so I can access harmonious relationships. We're essentially bringing our toys to play. That's the way I like to look at it. Their physical assets, digital assets, intangible assets, relationships. I'm bringing my physical assets, digital assets, intangible assets, relationships. And then we're combining them in creative ways so that we can both benefit greatly. You see that? So what would happen, that would be a great example, is I would mention them. I have a wonderful space that you can use. It's right downtown, easy access, very comfortable. Here are some pictures. Would you be interested in doing something together? And they would say yes, because spaces like that would cost a lot. And also, this space was a very beautiful space. And even though I didn't own the space, it was the condo space, they were letting me use it. So, for example, if I have a skill, one of the skills that I'm very good at is mapping out the business. I'm able to take a business, and they might not know how everything fits together. And I'm able to flow chart it in a way that connects everything so that they have a clear map of how their business is set up. That is something that I had learned while I was in IT, in corporate, because I also did warehouse management systems and logistics. So I was looking at processes as well. And I was able to set everything up in systems, that engineering side, let's say, and that was helpful for people. And so what happens is sometimes I would go in and I'd say, I can help your friend, or I can look at your business and we can map it out. Now, what's cool about this is when you mapped it out, the opportunity points are right there. You can actually see where you can optimize their business so they can grow, and they can see it clearly. And then they say, this particular area here, I can help you with that. If it's operations, I could say, I can put in the systems for that, or I can provide the technology that can go in there, or I know somebody that does it, I can bring them in. And then we work out a deal. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking my intangible expertise and bringing it into conversations where people benefit greatly. And then from there, it's turning into business deals. You see that? Now, what we're also focused on in this video is forming relationships where you can do business deals together with people. So just as you can know your value proposition, you can know what you're bringing to the table, the physical assets, the digital assets, the intangible assets, the relationships, the direct access relationships, the indirect access relationships, the community presence, you can also know what their value proposition is, what they're bringing to the table for the purpose of combining these together so that you do partnerships, so that you could start businesses together, so you can create additional revenue streams. The possibilities are endless. I go into consulting into companies and we talk about these things, and not to overwhelm them, but we're able to discover thousands and thousands of opportunities. Again, not to overwhelm them. Some of them like to know as many, some like to know a few, and then I'm able to take that and then discover which are the high leverage ones, the ones that generate revenue the easiest, fastest, flow-based, and move forward with those. Not all of them, because there's so many when you consider that you are right now standing on your own acres of diamonds. And practically speaking, this is a way of categorizing those diamonds and combining them all in a creative way, which benefits both greatly. So another way of looking at this, what we're talking about here, is here's how you can start a consulting practice. You could literally take what I'm talking about right here and start a consulting practice. You can go into companies and do this if you would like. And that is very valuable, enormously valuable. Just this way that I'm articulating to you, again, built on the foundation of being an entrepreneur since 2009 and being a consultant full-time since 2013 and working with thousands of businesses. I simplified it and consolidated in a way that I'm literally giving it to you here for free on YouTube so that you too, if you wanted to, can become a consultant, or you can include consulting as part of what you do in business, which we could talk about in an upcoming video. Speaking of which, if you have any questions or anything you would like me to explore based on today's conversation or the videos that I've released, you can, if you would like, leave a comment and ask your question, and we can continue to build on our discussions. And maybe you might ask a question that can inspire more discussions. And if you choose to do that, thank you. I appreciate you. Everyone benefits greatly, and I'm happy to explore. So now, knowing that you have access to acres of diamonds in the form of assets, physical, digital, intangible, relationships, direct access, indirect access, community presence, and you're able to know your value proposition that you bring in each of these areas, you can ask some questions to those that you connect with to see if they're a match, to see if they have access to, again, direct access, indirect access, community presence, and relationships, if they have access to, they have access to physical, digital, intangible assets. You can ask questions in a way that's non-intrusive. I'm going to give some example questions that you can ask people that you mastermind with, that you network with, people that you connect with, people that you have access to that you might consider doing this in a way that's not pushy. And I'm giving some questions that are very generally stated, although I tend to talk in my natural way, as I brought up earlier. I might not say it this way, depending on the situation. But I do get to the point of bringing awareness to their physical assets, digital assets, intangible assets, their direct and indirect relationship access, community presence, etc. Here are some good questions to ask so you can do this as well. For physical assets, you can say, what physical resources or tools or assets do you already own or have access to that supports your business or that could grow a business? A lot of times they like talking about this because it's exploratory for them, especially when you go in with that intention. We're having an exploratory conversation, not interrogation, not like, okay, let's combine these assets in a force-based way. Let's try to get everything from them in a way that is not mutually beneficial. Rather looking at it from the perspective of let's explore together what we have. What are these diamonds? You know, a lot of times I bring up acres of diamonds. I may send a PDF of acres of diamonds or a reading of acres of diamonds so that they understand what's going on here. And when we do talk about that, they say, wow, it's so obvious I didn't see it. Yet it's elusive obvious. It was there all along, but through a stimulating conversation and even looking at acres of diamonds prior or talking about acres of diamonds prior, these opportunities are revealed. So examples they could give: office space, equipment, printed materials, physical products, etc. For digital assets, we can ask, what kind of digital platforms, content, or systems are helpful to growing your business, or helpful in your marketing, or helpful in your sales, or helpful in your operations, etc. And they may say, websites, email lists, CRMs, digital products, apps, templates, data sets. Now, again, I don't ask these kinds of questions as a template. It's not like I have a script saying, ask these particular questions, because that doesn't feel natural. I'm going to vary it in a way. I may say something like, you know, I love the fact that I have built a YouTube channel because that has helped many people. I feel like you've done the same thing with your LinkedIn profile. And then they start that conversation. They say, you know, yeah, the LinkedIn profile has been really helpful. I was able to do something like this or that. And then I might say, look, that content that you put on LinkedIn is like the content that I put on YouTube. Those are digital assets. And they might say, what is that digital asset? And so we would explore. We eventually get to a point, if that's the route we were going, of how we can combine these digital assets together. Maybe I could take their digital assets, which is based on their intangible asset, which is their knowledge, expertise, and say, would you like to talk about that on a YouTube video? Let's do a YouTube video together where you can talk about that. And then what can happen is they talk about it on my channel. People want to reach out to them. They reach out to them, and maybe we joint venture and create a product or service together. Intangible assets. What skills, knowledge, or intellectual property do you have that people find valuable? Examples could be expertise, frameworks, methodology, certifications, personal brand, content. Direct and indirect relationship access. You could say, who do you know directly or indirectly that you can end up connecting with people that could help them amplify their message or product or service they're offering? And so they might say strategic contacts, referrals. There might be networks they have access to, affiliate partners. Number 5, community presence. So a question that I might ask is, are you part of any Facebook groups or networking events or communities? And we may explore that. What's the kind of experience you have over there? And they might say something like, well, people message me or we talk about things and I help them in these areas. And they come to me as the person that they look for solutions from. And I find that they ask me more than anyone else in the group. Interesting. So now they have a community full of people that know, like, and trust them and see them as a valuable provider of insight, perspective, wisdom, expertise. So now as they're communicating this, and you can set the intention prior, or you may bring it up afterwards. You might say, you know what, we might be able to do something with that. We might be able to combine in creative ways to grow our businesses in mutually beneficial ways. And they may say, how so? What are ways? Here are some of the ways that it could happen. It could be co-branded campaigns. Here's an example. A mindset coach partners with a high-performance supplement company to run a co-branded peak focus 30-day challenge, combining guided meditations and supplements bundles in one campaign. Both brands share their email lists, co-host a webinar, and cross-promote on Instagram, for example. These are just rough examples. I've done stuff like this, but I've created very generic examples to articulate the point today. Or you could do a cross-promotion. So a YouTuber who teaches productivity tools swaps shout-outs with a tech reviewer channel. They each feature the other's content in their videos and newsletters, leading to increased subscribers and brand visibility. No money is exchanged, yet more potential. As I brought up in the videos thus far, I like to focus on the following areas for revenue enhancement: generating qualified visitors over to products, services, websites, social media, etc. This one can help with that. Generating more leads. This can help with that. And also I like to focus on the other two areas: acquiring clients and engaging in ongoing business with existing clients. There are infinity ways to optimize those 4 areas. And by combining the acres of diamonds of relationships, assets together, again, physical assets, digital assets, intangible assets, relationships, direct access, indirect access, community presence, combining them in creative ways by discovering the value proposition that you bring, that they bring, and combining it together. You can grow your business, they can grow their business. You can enhance your innovation, your sales, your marketing, your operations, your finance, your leadership. You can generate more visitors, you can generate more leads, you can acquire more clients, you can engage in ongoing business with existing clients. Another example would be of synergizing the value that you both or multiple parties provide is revenue share collaboration. So a consultant helps a local gym create a new high-ticket transformation program. Instead of charging upfront, the consultant's structure a deal where they take 20% of new client revenue generated from the program. So the consultant goes in and works with the gym and structures a deal and takes a percentage of the new clients that are acquired as a result of their expertise put into equation to generate more clients. Bundled offers. A life coach, a nutritionist, and a yoga instructor, so 3 people, bundle their digital courses into a single mind-body reset offer. Each contributes a digital product, and they can split profits based on contribution or traffic-driven, or let's say 33%, etc. each. Next is affiliate referral systems. A digital marketer sets up an affiliate system where they give partners a custom referral link and 30% commission on any online course sales. Referrers get performance dashboards and automated payouts, or you can keep track on a spreadsheet, which is what I generally tend to do in these kinds of areas, unless I have a platform that's an affiliate platform that I use. So here it is. By combining assets, relationships together, again, physical assets, digital assets, intangible assets, direct access relationships, indirect access relationships, community relationships, and knowing the value proposition for each of these diamonds, as they are diamonds, you can create diamond necklaces. You can create diamond watches. That's articulating the point. And over the course of the years, I've done many deals like this, and that has generated millions of dollars. So it wasn't just selling a product or service. It was thinking creatively like this, which anyone can do. It's just, let's say, people might not be taught that this is a way to think creatively, very practically. So this is how you can as well turn what you already have access to into $1 million. So I trust you enjoyed today's conversation. If, again, you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.